Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. We live in a society where we want things now and we want things immediately, and being patient about any kind of change or results or anything that we're desiring in life is something that we're not very good at in general. That's also true in recovery. I've told this story before, but when I first came into recovery, I had been at a residential treatment center for about 9 days and went home to see my family. It was Christmas Day. And I went home expecting that all of the things that had been irritating me, that by that point I was convinced were my issues and not issues with my family, that all of the irritation would somehow magically float away. And after that 9 days of treatment, I would be able to be in the moment and not have anxieties, and everything would be fine. And that was definitely not the case. The second that we pulled out of the treatment center parking lot and then onto the street, the weight of the full world hit me. My anxieties came back. I was mentally all over the place. And it was not the most pleasant visit. And that was really disappointing to me because I expected results immediately from the treatment that I was getting and from the decision that I'd made to clean up my life. And when I went back and talked to my counselor about this, she didn't laugh, but she chuckled a little, and she said, "Well, you've been sober for 9 days, but you were involved in your addiction for almost 2 decades, so you can't expect that dramatic of a change to happen that quickly." And that's a message that I've received throughout my recovery, is that change happens over time. And especially if you're in a situation where you have been behaving a particular way and thinking a particular way and believing in a particular way for a long period of time, like I have, then that change definitely happens over a longer period of time. I've been in enough AA meetings with old timers who say that they still, and these are gentlemen and women who have been in the program for 50 years, saying that they still are growing and changing. And at first that thought intimidated me. First I thought, wow, that's a lot of work. But now I find comfort in that, because the idea that is my life's work is to constantly be working on myself and trying to be a better person. I like that idea. That makes sense to me. That makes a lot more sense to me than the way I was living my life when I was in my active addiction. So I do want to reassure for anybody who is in early recovery, I do want to reassure you that things get better as time goes on, but it does take time. There are things that just the past few weeks that I've noticed about myself and the way I'm doing things that are very different than the way I was doing things just 3 or 4 months ago. I've been in recovery now for almost 20 months. And so I'm still hopefully very early in recovery. If I'm in recovery for the rest of my life, then this is very early in my recovery. And things just in the last 3 or 4 months that have changed, and that's because there's been particular things I've been working on, and that's also because some of the things that I've been working on my entire recovery are starting to kick in a little bit. and so I just want to encourage anybody who's in early recovery, who's finding the rate of change frustrating, stick with it. Uh, it's just like exercise, it's just like losing weight. We can't expect the change to happen overnight. We can't expect the change to happen in a week, in a month, even in a year. At the end of the day, change is a byproduct of what we do. So, for example, when I started to exercise because exercise is a good thing rather than because I wanted my body to look a certain way, then I started getting the results I was looking for. When I exercised because I wanted to get thin and I wanted to, for reasons besides just that exercising is a good thing to do, when I worked that way, it was easy for me to not want to exercise and for me to uh, procrastinate on getting a new routine started, that kind of thing. But when I started approaching it from the perspective of, no, it's just good to exercise every day, so I just need to figure out how to do that, all of a sudden, I started to do that and then get the results from it. And it's the same thing with recovery. When we stop focusing as much on what we expect to happen and just concentrate more on what we need to be doing, then one day we wake up like I have recently and start realizing that our behavior has changed and changed in the ways that we hoped it would, and probably in some ways we never expected. That's a really good feeling, but it takes time. It takes consistent effort. And I just felt compelled to tell people that it does work. It does work. No matter what recovery program you're working, no matter what you're doing, as long as you're applying yourself consistently over time, then that change will happen. So don't be frustrated by temporary setbacks. Don't be frustrated by the days where you feel like you're slipping backwards. Just keep applying that consistent effort. Keep moving forward, and the results will follow. It will happen. That's it for today. Hope you have a good one, and I'll be back here tomorrow with more.